Welcome into K-State Online. I am Mason Voth. That is Drew Galloway. And it is Wednesday, but there are no shortcomings for what we could talk about. It's going to be a loaded show because as of really just before lunchtime, this was going to be another day talking transfer portal. We've got kind of some more like confirmed guys that we know K-State is looking at, guys that might actually be coming to Manhattan, really some more notable names. Things starting to become more concrete in the portal world. And then a bomb gets dropped on us around, I don't even know what time that was, maybe like 11:30. It comes out where there had been maybe some rumblings of something going on in the background, but Jeff Goodman is the one to officially drop the bomb on everybody that Achor Achor has been dismissed from the K-State basketball team. And my, oh my, Drew, how timely was our conversation yesterday about different guys and their personalities, and this is where the staff is going to have to get better. And for the second straight season, Jerome Tang has a player that has been effectively kicked off his team on his hands, and that is the situation with Achor Achor, who will no longer be a part of K-State basketball. And whether it is his decision or K-State's decision, it definitely seems mutual that both sides didn't want to be married to each other anymore. And this comes on the heels of Achor only playing 5 minutes against St. John's on Saturday, all of which were in the first half. He was effectively benched, and he had a plus minus of minus 15 in the 5 minutes that he played on Saturday, which, keep in mind, pretty hard to do, number one, in 5 minutes, but especially since the first half was the half that K-State played well in. They were up by 4 points at halftime. And Achor Achor, again, plus minus, not the gospel. Achor Achor cost them 15 points in 5 minutes, according to that metric.
Plus minus is a horrible stat, but when you are that bad in 5 minutes, that's when I think that you can be like, okay, it is like more real than not. Because
plus minus to me is one of those that, unless it is extremely impressive or extremely terrible, you probably shouldn't put much stock into it. But if it's something like this, you go, you're not having a great day out there.
Yeah, like that is like bad. I can't remember a plus minus in a short period of time that's that bad, and especially in the half that K-State was actually playing well in. But I feel like you missed the real golden opportunity to say Achor Achor is dismissed. But but it is a big loss because at his best, Achor Achor could have been really, really good for K-State. I really liked him at Samford, but it never really seemed to click or really be easy from the time that he got to K-State for whatever reason. I know that at Samford and at Chipola, neither one were really known for being a defensive prowess and powerhouse.
Junior college basketball at Chipola, nobody plays defense in junior college basketball.
But Achor looked especially lost on that end of the floor. We had heard during the offseason about how good of a rebounder he was, and he really wasn't rebounding well when he was in. He was just always kind of out there to me as a guy that, like, I don't want to say is just getting cardio in, but like he was just kind of out there and was always kind of lost. But again, like the bigger picture is just that it's another season where it's the middle of December and somebody's getting dismissed from the team. It's just highlights that the locker room at K-State right now is not great. and that's putting it lightly. And we got into it a lot yesterday of like a lot of the unpacking and everything. But it's not a great feeling right now, and just keeps piling up of like reasons where I look at the schedule and I don't know when a win is coming or if a win is coming, because it really looks like this thing could go real south, and 0-20 is not off the table.
Yeah, I mean, I would be stunned if it got to that. There's too much talent, and even the bad teams at K-State that you think the problems are buy-in or personality, they've found ways to win games that you go, there's no way. I mean, the freshman year Dean Barry Cam team, not those type of problems, but like they beat number 1 Oklahoma at home, and you would have thought that team didn't have much of a chance. I mean, the year that Marcus Foster and all those guys let it hit the fan, they beat KU at home. So like they found ways to do this. I don't think they'll go winless in conference play, but this is a team now that, look, we didn't. Achor Achor does not mean anything to if they don't make the NCAA tournament. Like, the turnaround for K-State basketball does not hinge on Achor Achor, but
No.
it highlights just another real big bump in the road that this basketball program has hit. And to me, the concerning thing does come down to the fact that, okay, we started last season, and now I can't even remember off the top of my head who it was last year that it was Kaluma. Arthur Kaluma
Yeah.
last year had to, early in the season, did not play in a game because Jerome Tang said, he's got to do some things, got to get right, wasn't buying in or whatever. So you had that from the get-go, a guy out of the transfer portal. In the meantime, you were dealing with Naquan Tomlin, who got arrested in Aggieville for his involvement of some kind in a disturbance that took place down there. And you're waiting. Oh, is he going to come back? Okay, he's taking the right steps. And then boom, the day after a big win at home against Villanova, he's kicked off the team. So you had a player kicked off the team there. Then you fast forward to this year. You go back into the transfer portal in a heavy, heavy way. And you bring in a guy in Doug McDaniel. Again, I like the game. I thought Doug McDaniel was a good pickup. But to this point, and maybe things are getting better, but like we said, he didn't start on Saturday against St. John's. Probably could have played more. But to this point, it hasn't seemed to get to a spot where you would like it, and this staff has to kind of rein that in, because he had to miss a game because of not getting locked in and not doing what they wanted and expected of him. We talked about the Coleman Hawkins stuff yesterday. He obviously plays a role in some of this, and the Achor stuff, out of left field to think that today it could come to this extent. Once you got to the weekend, you're thinking, okay, the problems are here, and here, and then Achor becomes one, and so here you sit, 2 straight years of a player getting kicked off your team before you even make it to the turn of the new year in conference play. And this just really reaffirms what we said yesterday, is we know that the NIL support may not be there in the same way this coming off season, but the number one thing, whether you've got money or not in your basketball program moving forward, if you're Jerome Tang and his staff, you have to be better about evaluating the type of person that's coming to play for you. You don't need a team full of choir boys. Like, we do not need the local church league team to show up and play for you. No, that's fine. Like, you don't have to be perfect, but it's becoming apparent that at least not enough research is being done on these guys that are coming in, because it's led to these problems. Because I don't think K-State's problem this season is a lack of talent. And I know a lot of people were concerned about, the fit of the roster. How does the roster fit together? I'm not even worried about the fit of the roster. I don't even think that's been the problem to this point in time. Some of it, yes, is on the coaching and the basketball side of it, but a lot of it seems to come down to the mentality and mindset. And we said yesterday, you need more David Gassons and Brennan Haasens on this roster right now. Guys that they value the we of the team, and that their individual performances will shine through greater from a great team performance over a great individual performance. And it's really getting concerning that I'm not sure enough guys are going to realize that before it's too late, or some guys may not realize it at all with this team this season.
No, it is extremely concerning, because there just hasn't been a lot there that I don't want to go like way off the deep end and say there hasn't been a lot that's gone right, but there hasn't been a lot of positives out of the basketball camp recently. Like, it is hard to really see a way out of this and not think that this season might just be a throwaway season again. So I'm really concerned going forward more than anything else, because like we've talked about, they have to be able to really figure out what's going on and why they've had these problems, and look internally, because we can blame the kids, we can blame the coaches, but at the end of the day, it more so falls on the coaches, because they're the ones bringing these guys in. But yeah, I mean, getting dismissed after 9 games, and really it sounding more so that it was just a weird situation here with him. And then you saw him getting benched at St. John's. It was just not a great look, is what I'll go ahead and say. And that, again, like we've talked about NIL and everything, and this is a guy that K-State spent a lot of money to get, Achor Achor, and then now you only had him for 9 games. And I just don't know where you're going to get the NIL support. K-State's going to have to moneyball this thing next off season, or this next off season, because I just don't know what or how much people will want to spend on this next roster if they can't get it somewhat figured out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. It's concerning. And then the other thing that I would throw into this is if you're already worried about the personalities and the non-basketball makeup of some of your roster, something like this, even if, Chor had missed some time, personal matters and everything, he'd only played in 7 games. But if you already have this big of a crack in a leak that's come out of it, you then start to wonder, okay, does this start to make it even easier for some of the guys that we know Jerome Tang has been fighting to kind of get the buy-in and to lock back in on? Does it make it easier for them to go further in the bad direction? And is something like this going to create a bigger mess moving forward? That's the one thing that I'm going to wonder about now is, okay, one guy's already left the team, been kicked off, whatever you want to do. I don't think either side, Achor Achor or K-State, wanted to continue with this partnership. Does that make it easier for other guys to be kind of outwardly defiant or not do what's asked of them and just kind of be like, man, you know what? These guys don't know what's going on. I'm going to do my own thing. And if it ends poorly, it ends poorly, but it doesn't really matter. So,
and the scary thing to me is, like, we already saw some of that on the court at St. John's when Jerome Tang was trying to call a
yes,
timeout during St. John's
great
run
point.
that really kind of effectively ended the game. We already saw the team at K-State either choosing to ignore Jerome Tang or not realizing that they probably need a timeout and really kind of rein things in and talk about it. So we've already seen it. So I just hope that it doesn't get worse.
Yep. That is a great point. All right, let's move on and talk about something probably a little bit more encouraging for people right now. Still going to involve transfers, but I think the football team has had a much better track record with their transfers for the most part. I know that some of the ones this year didn't work out the way people would have liked them to have. But we've got another list of guys that are starting to become publicly known names here. And if you want the full inside scoop on all this, go to KSO over at On3, get locked in, and you can find great updates from Drew and DY there on guys that are visiting, other names that are starting to come out. But some of the big ones, we talked about this on Monday. We said, really, any of these dudes from Oklahoma State. And then I think that evening you sent a message, and DeJon Stribling was in the portal, and there does seem to be K-State interest there. And obviously people can see down there, had an amazing year as O-State's top receiver, 52 grabs for 882 yards. What would a Stribling situation look like for K-State here?
So Stribling is an interesting transfer because a lot of times you see guys want things to be leaked about visits. You see that from agents. You see that from the players. Names are so jumbled in my head that I was going to say that I saw somebody and name the person that, like, I respected this. I saw somebody be like, hey, this is where I'm visiting, and just posted it out for everybody to see. But Stribling, you haven't really seen a whole lot from him. He's not posting any offers. We don't know where he's visiting, but I can tell you based on the social media activity that K-State is pretty heavily involved because there's probably a handful of staff and support staff following Stribling. And I mean, the fit makes sense. He's a big receiver. He was very productive at Oklahoma State. K-State needs another receiver because, again, like I keep talking about, the receiver room is going to be essentially flipped. If you look at it, if you look at what they have and what they had last year, they've already signed 4 guys. They lost 3, and they've offered probably a couple handfuls already. So that means that they probably want at least 2. So you do the math on how many receivers that K-State had on this past team will be on next year's team. So there will be a lot of turnover. which means a lot of playing time. And Stribling was very, very productive this year at Oklahoma State. And I think the fit makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, this would feel like a massive win for you if you're K-State, if you were able to pick up Stribling. So
I will say I should add, because I have hinted at receiver room flip, I do feel good about Jace Brown returning to K-State. He is not one that I think will be in the transfer portal.
Yeah, that one that seems like one after the erroneous report from a random Twitter account on Saturday before the Iowa State game said that feels like one that if it was going to happen now, it would have already happened. I think people can rest easy. That one's been put to bed. As probably that performance in the Iowa State game should have put it to bed for people as well. Let's stay on the receiver train and talk about Isaiah Hunter from Cal. He put together a freshman season that was pretty strong, 40 grabs, 578 yards, and 5 touchdowns. We've talked a lot about freshman receivers here that K-State has kind of looked at in the portal. We talked Joe Williams on Monday. It seems like the suitors for Joe Williams might get out of K-State's ballpark. But where do you think things go with Isaiah Hunter?
Oh, with Isaiah Hunter, it's interesting too, because again, another true, I believe he is actually a true freshman receiver. And K-State gets involved, but right now it's more of like a who hasn't offered Isaiah Hunter. Just today he's gotten Texas Tech, Washington, Wisconsin, Syracuse, and then last night got KU, Mississippi State, Kentucky, Nebraska, K-State, Arizona State, Utah. So I think that you're going to see a lot more offers come his way. But like for a lot of these guys, the next step is after you've offered them, you at least have to get them on campus before something like really truly happens. But I really like Isaiah Hunter. I like Stribling too. And if I was going to put like a wish list of what I want K-State to get, I would like them right now, because these are just public names that have put out. I guess in Hunter's case he has, but in Stribling's case we just see the social media activity. I would want one of those two guys and then supplement some other ones as well.
Yeah. Let's continue on here with receivers for at least a second longer. Asia Johnson, another young receiver that we know that there's some K-State interest in, transferring from Michigan State. Another player, 3 years remaining of eligibility this season, 16 grabs, 276 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, Asia Johnson is explosive, 17 yards per catch at Michigan State this season. Really had an up and down year, but I think that's part of a new coaching staff at Michigan State. Aiden Childs wasn't great either, so that didn't really help the situation. But if you look, it looks like he's just going to stay in Kansas, because his visits are to KU and K-State. He'll be at K-State this Friday, and then I believe he'll be in Lawrence after. But you look, and you got to think that K-State's got a shot there. And again, when you're replacing so much of your room and so much production potentially with guys, you have a lot of playing time to sell. Asia Johnson was a pretty decent player at Michigan State and has a lot of potential. I mean, somebody else on the board posted about it, but I noticed it too in a few NCAA dynasties that I've had, that Asia Johnson becomes extremely good. So just throwing that out there.
Okay, well, I'm sold. When I broadcast Springfield Cardinals baseball for a week in 2021 when they were here in 21 or 22, I guess it would have been 21. They came to Wichita for a 6-game series, and so I filled in for the regular guy who his wife had just had a kid, and I was like, when I was making my notes for the game, I went through and I went and found that was the first year that minor league players were in the show, and I found what their ratings were in the show. So I at least am interested in that information. It probably has zero bearing on what happens here,
Nope.
but it doesn't hurt,
It only does if he goes to K-State. If he goes to KU, it means nothing.
Look, why do you think I know a lot about the Rutgers roster going into K-State's matchup? And also, I knew Eric Rivers was a stud before all those thousands of schools gave him offers once he entered the portal from FIU, which, Drew Galloway, a great time to talk about another FIU player in the portal. This is a guy that you really like. I think you've talked about him pretty consistently in our KSO group chat. Hezekiah Masses, a corner. We know K-State is going to need secondary help, especially at corner now that Jacob Parrish has declared for the NFL draft. 1 year left here, but I know some people are soured based on the transfer DB haul this past year, but overall, it's been really good in the past for Chris Kleiman and K-State.
Yeah, overall, it's been really, really good. And Hezekiah Massas, I think, would kind of add to that. He's a bigger corner. I think he's like 6'1", 6'2", a little bit on the lighter side. Good coverage grade, as we see at the bottom of the screen here from Pro Football Focus. Looks like it's just K-State and Cal at the moment. And with that, you would think that K-State could be able to come out on top here for Massas. It is just wild to kind of see all these names because you see a lot of corners, you see a lot of receivers, and you see a lot of linebackers that K-State's really going after, and offensive line. And I think that is probably where the primary focus is, at least for right now, for K-State. And I think that that's something that they know about and is something that needs to be corrected, because we talked about the playing time of receiver. There's a lot of playing time at corner right now to go in any direction. And Massas, good player. He was an all-conference player at Florida International and Conference USA this season.
Yeah.
The Pitbull School.
Yes. Pitbull Stadium. Shout out. I was gonna say other Pitbull related stuff there, but I'm not going to. Let's stay defensive side of the ball. This is an intriguing one as well. We know K-State also will be losing at least Austin Moore. And we know linebacker's a spot that also over the last couple of years has just gotten banged up relentlessly. Gabe Powers is a linebacker from Ohio State. Limited playing time in his first 2 years of actually getting on the field. He was a redshirt sophomore this year. He did have a pick six in their win over Akron this season, and a former 4-star guy that was dangerously close to being a 5-star. What do you know about Gabe Powers and a possible K-State connection?
Yeah, a lot of talent there at least when he came out of high school. Hasn't played a whole lot at Ohio State so far. Looks like Wisconsin, Minnesota, K-State is probably the top three right now. Strangely enough, we had our own Derek Young. It was like 10 minutes, I think is what he said, from Powers' hometown. So pretty strange connection there. Also, kind of wild to see a homegrown Buckeye leave, but when it's the day and age that we live in, and linebacker at K-State also needs some help right now. Maybe not starter wise; they need a starting will, but I really like having Austin Romaine back, and then Desmond Purnell back. So you probably need a starting will, and then you need a lot of depth guys, and especially at the Mike linebacker spot. I mean, we haven't really talked about it a ton because there wasn't a lot of production from them, but Terry Kirksey and Alec Marenko leaving isn't nothing, because you now need a backup Mike, because right now you have Austin Romaine, and then I think if they were going to stay positionally, your backup Mike linebacker is probably Boone Morris, who was a true freshman this season.
Yeah, I mean, in total, 3 linebackers in the portal already for K-State, guys that who knows what they would have ultimately turned out to be, but again, guys that could have been in the mix for maybe depth pieces next year if they had hung around. So, yeah, linebacker will be important for K-State. And this seems like, I know some people might think, okay, but he hasn't really played, seen the field that much at Ohio State. Again, obviously a lot of talent to go around in any position group at Ohio State. I think this is the kind of transfer that K-State football should probably try to make their hay on. Obviously, they're going to try and make the splashes that they can, but this is one of those where you look at it and say, okay, this guy had all the talent in the world. He's been blocked probably by guys that are just extreme talents. Maybe we can get him here, give him the opportunity, and something good can come out of it. I mean, at some point, a linebacker transfer has to work out for K-State, right?
At some point, a linebacker transfer does have to play a down at K-State, because
Gabe Powers, it could be you. That would be the pitch that I would give him. I just say, hey, look, the other guys, it's not worked out, but it could for you.
Still over in that department, so pretty wild. But you are exactly right, though. The Gabe Powers is the type of transfer that K-State should try and get. But I also think that there has to be like a balance. And some of these guys, like we're seeing like Hezekiah Massis. You're getting the guys that have a lot of production at the lower level now going up. I also would like to see more of like the highly ranked guys that haven't really played a ton, but you know that the talent is there to come in at K-State too, because you have to have a blend. Because I think that you'll get at worst with Gabe Powers, you took a gamble on a guy that was almost a 5-star out of high school and probably provided solid depth.
Yeah. I was going to throw in there. I had at one point, obviously I am from Hutchinson, Kansas, for those that have not learned this. I was in Hutch for something, and I was around somebody that is connected to HCC, and they were giving me crap about Terry Kirksey not seeing the field or certain things with K-State with that. And I was just thinking, like, I mean, I don't think there's probably a reason for it. I don't think this is the HCC to K-State pipeline should be shut off because of this. That's just one of those where people have their angle and they have their sides and their allegiances here, and so they feel like their guys getting wronged. Yeah, I don't know. I just wanted to throw that in there because I did not go to Hutchinson Community College. So whenever I hear people talking about, like, I don't care enough, I don't have enough stake in it, so I will, I have one of my good friends from doing radio down here in Wichita played offensive line at HCC. I give him crap about the Blue Dragons any chance that I can, who are gearing up to play in the NJCAA National Championship again, that they will probably not win because they only win Mickey Mouse COVID year titles. They choke every other year. I got some friends of mine really fired up at me my freshman year of college when I tweeted out that HCC had more uniform combinations than wins because they always seem to lose their big important games, which I would mention they did lose at home to Butler this year with like 1,000 turnovers. So I don't know what you want me to do there. So yeah, that's just like my soccer stance. And again, this is not pertaining to anything, and this will get some people upset. Others will find it funny. I don't care enough about soccer to be distraught when like Team USA missed the World Cup. I didn't like, oh my gosh, this is terrible. How embarrassing. I thought, this is hilarious. How embarrassing. And so I was going to go and stoke the fire on social media or other things. But I am like, if they're in it, I would like to see them succeed, Like I'd be, I like being able to play both sides here.
You do enjoy playing both sides of the portal, or not the portal.
Well, the portal too. I mean, look, this is another sell to Gabe Powers. If you're the K-State coaching staff, you say, look, Mason Voth can either be your biggest asset or your greatest enemy, depending on what you choose here. And he's comfortable doing either. So I just want that message to be out there and well known. One other name to put out there, another one that's been, I think K-State was trying to keep this as quiet as they could, but it's become a much more publicly known thing now, is offensive lineman Teague Anderson, a Utah State offensive lineman, 2 years remaining. This is a recruitment that has a lot of major players in it and a lot of comparable schools to K-State as well. Would it be safe to say that this might be I know we have some guys we talked about that are maybe more pie in the sky for K-State to land in the portal, but is this of the most realistic options, maybe the number one guy that K-State's looking for?
I mean, positionally, yeah, we'll see. Because there's a lot of teams lurking for Teague Anderson, along with K-State. Missouri is one. Houston is another. I believe what just has been posted is that Penn State is now getting more and more involved. So realistically, there is definitely a shot. If you look at what K-State has done in the portal, Easton Kilty had a ton of offers before he committed to K-State too, to the point where if I remember how that recruitment went, all three of us were kind of taken off guard when Kilty committed, because we saw that he was starting to blow up and then went to K-State on the visit. And then we weren't ready when he ended up committing. So it's definitely possible. But Anderson has already been at Houston and Missouri. And then I believe that he will be at K-State in the next few days, or has already been at K-State, because he's leaving from K-State to go to Penn State. So realistically, it could definitely happen. And Teague Anderson is one of the best offensive linemen in the portal. Weirdly enough, another guy that I knew about because of NCAA football, 25, because I believe in my first season at K-State, I saw his name in the transfer portal.
Look, this is the beauty. Some people that don't play are going to go, "What? Who cares? What are you talking about?" This to me is truly the biggest benefit and beauty of sports video games. And I've told people this seriously. I've said, if you want to try and like educate yourself or have a kid educated about the game or the players, these games are very helpful in that way. I mean, that's why I pop in MLB The Show. I can't follow every offseason move in baseball. I try to, but I can't. But you give me about 2 weeks of playing the show, then yeah, I know exactly who whatever random third baseman that's gonna come in and play once every 6 days. I know where he's playing now because of that. That's why I don't know. We've talked about it. We don't know a lick about our NFL teams and their schedules and other guys because we are not playing Madden this year. But
No.
college football, I mean, when the second K-State was playing Rutgers, I was like, oh no, Kyle Munganai, you got to worry about him. He's their guy right there. I also did listen to the Rutgers Illinois game on radio with the Rutgers broadcast on the way up to Manhattan at one point this year. So yeah, that's one of those. It really is a great thing. And I had back when I was still doing play-by-play stuff, I had a guy come and shadow me. He was a kid that was going to high school with my brother at the time, and I was doing a baseball game, and his dad was talking to me and asked me about what are some of the things you can do. I said, it's going to sound really silly, and it might get a little bit annoying. I said, but like, does your kid play like Xbox or PlayStation or anything? Because that's what I did growing up. Was I turned the sound down and I would play NCAA or MLB or whatever, and I would call the game that I was playing because I was a little bit of a sports nerd, but that benefited me moving forward. So it's ridiculous. And I know to the people that are not involved in that world, they think that it's stupid and they're like, get a life. But I'm dead serious. That stuff does have an impact and matter.
No, it's how there have been guys that have like popped in the portal where like I've just seen their name before. I'm like, where have I seen it before? And then I realize it. Another like sicko one that K-State is not going after him because they don't really need a tight end. But Colin Weber is like one of the top ranked guys in the portal right now from Charlotte. I had a dynasty with Charlotte. He transferred from me year one.
Well, yeah, it's tough. You got to get those guys to buy in, believe. I won't dive into it. I could do a whole thing about hypothetical transfers and random players in the college football game that have been exciting to play with. The last thing we'll take care of here is to remind everybody, as they know what is coming, that I did get my passport taken care of yesterday, waiting on it to arrive. I did take care of my haircut today. That has arrived. What is arriving in a couple of months will be the Wildcats in Dublin, Ireland, as they get ready for the Aer Lingus College Football Classic. And with the holiday season here, it's time to find the perfect gift for the Cats fan in your life. Give your friends and family the trip of a lifetime to see the Wildcats take on the Cyclones in the 2025 Aer Lingus College Football Classic in Dublin, Ireland. Visit cats2ireland.com for information on official travel and hospitality packages. That's cats, the number 2, Ireland.com. And we will be on top of that and everything that comes with it. One sad note involving Iowa State that might make you tear your hair out if you're a K-State fan. But Trey Spivey, who is in the transfer portal, getting offers all over the place from a lot of Big 12 schools. Iowa State, one of them. There is heavy Iowa State interest there. I think he may even be taking a visit at some point in the near future. So
yeah. I thought they were going to point out that Rocco Becht coming back, which also probably pretty sickening.
I mean, yeah, I guess I didn't think that he was going to leave. I don't know. I know Brett McMurphy put out the thing that some ACC and SEC schools try to get him out of there, but I'm like, who was it? Boston College and Vanderbilt, like Mississippi State. I don't know. That was one of those that felt like, hey, we need some good Iowa State PR after we got our butts kicked by Arizona State in the conference title game. let's try and prop Rocco up by making it clear, oh, he's not going anywhere. They're probably lucky that it seems like that his dad isn't going to get hired by West Virginia, because then that would be hilarious if that kind of turned around. But on the Spivey front, his 4 recent offers that he's posted: Utah, BYU, Iowa State, and Arizona, as well as Georgia Tech and Wisconsin from the Power 4 level. So, yeah, that's what's going on there. So we'll see how everything else plays out in the portal. I'm sure, based on the way it moves, we'll be back here with another portal update before the week is done. We still have 6 days until K-State basketball plays again, and obviously 15 days until K-State football will kick off in the Rate Bowl, not the guaranteed Rate Bowl, just the Rate Bowl against Rutgers. We will get out of here so Drew can get ready to go hop on K-Man with Mitch Fortner. So if
it's actually Troy.
Oh, just Troy today. So, yeah. Okay. All right. Troy Coverdale and Drew, they will get after it. But either way, you should listen to the game on KMAN. I've always said it is the greatest sports talk radio show in the state of Kansas. That I have no personal connections to it anymore. But yes, you should check that out, especially because Drew is going to be on it today. So whether it's live, because you're watching this right before we go, which you wouldn't be because of how long it is. So you're just gonna have to go and find the K-Man podcast and listen to the game there. But I'm trying to plug Mitch and Troy, apparently, and Drew. Just want everybody to get the love that they deserve today. So we'll try and give some love to other people tomorrow. I don't know who yet, but with the transfer portal, there are a lot of guys to give. There's a lot of guys that get a lot of love really fast, and then you never think about them ever again. I wonder just how many names these coaches have forgotten in their lives of dudes that they really, really cared about at one point in their time. One name that probably isn't cared about too much anymore: Achor Achor in Manhattan, Kansas. We'll get out of here. For Drew Galloway, I'm Mason Voth. Thanks for watching and listening to K-State Online.